Hello there. There's no getting around this one. Any deal the UK comes to with the EU right now will be a Brexit sellout. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily. And a big thanks to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. The truth is that any deal we end up striking with the EU will have to be a sellout from the UK side, because that's the only way it can go. We either walk away from the table altogether and rescind the withdrawal agreement in full, or we will have relinquished our complete independence and sovereignty in some way or another. And it all stems from the initial negotiations on day zero after the Brexit referendum result of the 23rd of June 2016. Why do I say that? Because the starting point to the whole process was that the EU maintained full control and sovereignty over the EU 27, but the UK was expected to remain within the sphere of Brussels' influence. And this whole concept was baked into the negotiations from day one. The UK never made any territorial or other claims on the EU, while the EU had those like Theresa May agree that the UK cannot function without EU oversight and control. That meant that the EU 27 starting point was one of the EU single market, customs union and legal system being sacrosanct, something that our initial negotiating team under the Theresa May premiership totally and unequivocally agreed with. Whereas the Theresa May starting point was one of subservience to and awe of the Brussels machine. Well, amongst those that purported to lead this great country anyway. The rest of us knew that the UK is well capable of standing firmly on its own 2 feet. So given that a deal is the culmination of negotiations and compromises from the initial starting points of the bargaining parties, then you can see that any agreement between the EU and UK would almost certainly end up with the UK bound to the EU. The EU could sit behind the fortress of its initial position and sally forth to try and wear us down. The only way to avoid an ignominious outcome for the UK is for us to walk away and walk now. Think of buying a house. If the seller knows you are never going to walk away, they can keep the price as high as they like and get away with demanding that they get the use of one room rent-free after you've bought it. Now, it might sound bizarre, but it would have made it easier for our side if we'd followed the same model as the European Union. And further, if we'd done what the EU has done and stuck to some outlandish ideas on what a deal between 2 sovereign entities should look like. Firstly, on fishing. The UK should have said that we're taking back full control over our own waters, but because our fishermen have had access to EU waters for so long, then that should continue. And further, that the UK should have a say in how EU waters are controlled, and then insisted that this was a one-way only arrangement. Ditto on state aid. Insist on the UK having a say on EU state aid arrangements to ensure they don't try and take advantage of us. And governance. Tell them the UK Supreme Court will have jurisdiction over any future deal arrangements. Then to the Northern Ireland border. What we should have done was stick to our guns on our initial proposal. If I remember rightly, when this first started, we put forward an idea for treating the whole of the island of Ireland as one unit, and goods would be checked as they went into the Republic of Ireland from the European Union. This, of course, upset Brussels, as it meant putting a barrier up within their precious single market. So it appears that Theresa May quickly dropped that. Upsetting the EU was not in her vocabulary. But we shouldn't have dropped it, because Brussels was able to exploit that weakness and neatly turn the tables on May, and she never put out a squeak about it, just accepted it as inevitable. Also consider that within the Withdrawal Agreement and Political Declaration, all that's ever talked about is protecting the EU single market, never a word about the UK internal market. Once again, we were therefore tied into helping protect the EU single market, but no one had any responsibility to protect the UK's internal market. No one in the May government gave it a second thought, it seems. The UK should always have had the recovery of the entire United Kingdom as one entity, along with all of its assets, as the end point of negotiations. The fact that the first negotiating team on the job, on both sides, never saw that as the ultimate aim is the architect of the problems with the talks that we're witnessing today. Concrete blocks were laid down in the minds of UK civil servants and politicians, as well as Eurocrats, over how much of the UK the EU would be carving from us as we pulled away. That was the starting point to the Brexit talks all those years ago. And it rumbled on like that. And both the people and May's fellow politicians refused to accept such an abject sellout of the country. Except for some notable MPs, of course, who started to cave in at the last vote. It wasn't until Boris Johnson became Prime Minister and put the now Lord David Frost at the helm of the negotiations, all under the watchful eye of Dominic Cummings and his Vote Leave team, that things began to change. But trying to fight back from all that lost ground was always going to be a very tall order. Especially as the withdrawal agreement itself that Boris himself signed up to, remember, is heavily one-sided in favour of the EU and makes a normal free trade agreement almost impossible to agree. Because if the EU did sign a Canada-style agreement with us, they would be giving powers away that the withdrawal agreement gives them, if it remains in force, that is. So when we hear that a deal with the EU is over 95% in place and the last few bits are being hammered out, forgive Brexiteers if they feel very, very nervous that they're about to be sold out. Because as I've said, any deal will involve a series of compromises, and when your own initial starting point was already compromised on day one by those with a lack of belief in the country, or worse, then it all comes down to what those compromises you make are, and how one-sided they are. How much do you think the EU will have compromised? I mean, really compromised, to get a deal with the UK. A deal that must, in their eyes, be seen to punish us for the audacity to vote to leave in the first place. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it by following the link in the descriptions box below and support me on Patreon or PayPal. So do you agree that any deal would be a Brexit sellout? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.